These pieces have a lot of symbols in them, and I think it's important that as people are looking at them, they're understanding that these are not just collages of scenes from Bishop College's history, but I've inserted in them the elements that I think are important to tie us to that sort of traditional African thought and the idea of traditional African iconography. In particular, they're going to appear in each one of these three elements, either a chameleon, a spider, a tortoise, because these are the things that are taken from traditional West African divination and that are the symbols of wisdom. And of course, this whole thing is about a college, a institution of higher learning that no longer exists. So that's by nature, by its very nature, a citadel of wisdom.
Bishop had moved from Marshall to Dallas, but it had not connected with the community. You know, it was still that little isolated, and I think their main purpose for moving from Marshall to Dallas really was to connect to the communities.
I always remember just a lot of excitement there, and the teachers, the instructors, everyone was very involved with learning, and we knew that we were unique. You know, Bishop was very unique in those days, being a predominantly black college, and the kind of instruction that was available was very high caliber. There were many teachers, including my mother, that attended seminars at Harvard, at Yale, abroad, across the country. So we were very known across the nation as one of the top predominantly black colleges in the country.
The other element that appears in all of these pieces are the cowrie shells. And of course, cowrie shells at one time or another were money in West Africa, and well, all over Africa, they were money. And then once they no longer were utilized to trade with, they became symbols of goodwill, good fortune. And of course, for me, the history of Bishop College, that was our good fortune to have in Dallas.
I don't think that there were really any boundaries preventing, creativity, and there were avenues provided for that because it was necessary and it was wanted.
The theater guy came in.
Arthur Allen.
Arthur Allen came in. And we wrote this grant, and the main purpose of this grant was to bring the arts to, not only to Bishop, but to bring it to the Dallas community. And somehow he had Dr. Curry and I guess the departments had connected with the city, the city of Dallas. And because there were no arts in Dallas, we didn't have theater coming here, we did not have dance coming here, and all of that. Well, to make a long story short, we received this $1 million in a grant. And it was fantastic. And out of that experience came Maya Angelou. She was one of our first guests that we had. I was there when she talked from the stage about I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She had just finished writing that. She had a lot of those books. She autographed mine.
The very, very first person I remember was Maya Angelou. And I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. We learned an awful lot about her, and she was a compelling speaker.
We brought in Alex Haley, when he was doing Roots. He told us from the audience, from the stage, that he was getting ready to do Roots, all of those kinds of things. And I was doing the dance, TCU was bringing in Arthur Mitchell yearly, and I was forming an association with them and would get Arthur Mitchell over to do dance classes, and he was one that really encouraged me to start our own dance company, And then, of course, we partnered with the Texas Ballet, well, the Dallas Ballet at that time, and brought in the Ailey Company, and all of those things were part of this $1 million grant.
I could feel the energy of people that visited the campus and the impact that a lot of the writers and the dancers and performers had on campus.
I was at Bishop College when it moved to Dallas in 1961, from 61 until 1963, and that's when I graduated. My primary musical activity on campus was a jazz jam session that we had, I think it was every Monday. We were required, because it's a church-affiliated school, affiliated with the Baptist Church, we were required to go to chapel on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And one of my good friends who was there with me, Wendell Sneed, who was a drummer, and Charles Abels, we cut chapel on Mondays. And we went into one of the practice rooms in the music building and had a jam session during chapel. And we found that a lot of the students would cut chapel as well and come and crowd into this little room and hear us jam. Other musicians who were on the campus would sometimes come and jam with us. And then one day, somebody told us that the great vibraphonist Lionel Hampton was in Dallas and he was going to come by to visit the campus. And so we moved our illegal jam session to the cafeteria that day. And Lionel Hampton sat in with us and jammed with us. A world-renowned jazz musician. And that was sort of the highlight of our jam sessions.
And then, Harry, you probably remember that the Fairmont Hotel had these artists that come in, like Lou Rawls and Nancy Wilson and all of Billy Eckstine. Well, on Mondays, it was Dead Day. They did perform. So Jay Harrison and a group of students would go and pick them up and bring them to the lunchroom doing on a Monday, and they would sing and entertain with the dancers and all. It's what you call good old times, you know.
Really, the only one that I can recall right now is the relationship that Margaret Walker Alexander had with my mother, because she had been down several times and had spoken. I remember seeing Nikki Giovanni at different events, and again, you know, hindsight's 20/20. After I grew up and went on to school, I suddenly realized, oh my God, we had all these gems on Bishop's campus. Many of the faculty felt it was important for students to get out and travel, or to have to experience different kinds of programs, summer programs off campus, so they could enliven their lives and experiences.
I was able to do those concerts with the symphony. We went down and we auditioned, and Jeannie Terrell, the famous Jeannie Terrell opera singer, I got a chance to be tutored, you know, by her just a little bit, just be in her presence. And all this happened because of the vision of the arts, you know. And then we brought the orchestra. Remember when they built that orchestra? When they built a platform at Carby Carter's Chapel. They built to hold the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. And I got a chance to, after doing those 20 concerts, I got a chance to perform with the orchestra here at my own college.
Oh, that's great.
I'm one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah.
Inspiration.
This is certainly one of the ones of mine. Being able to perform at the Dallas Theater Center with Rex Ingram, who was the Dean of Negro Actors at the time. They didn't call him black actors, but he was the Dean of Negro Actors. And he had actually played the Lord in Green Pastures. And so when they came out to Bishop to interview and audition students for the role, it was quite an experience.
There were no limitations even for the people who visited, because they could see the importance of this gym right in the middle of a southern state, and the importance of Bishop and its relevance to not only the community but to the state, to the outlying United States.